Coming up on Global Business, Chinese President Xi Jinping welcomes U.S. California State Governor Gavin Newsom, who is making a week-long visit to China. Chinese Premier Li Qiang touches down in Bishkek for pivotal Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting. And the annual Future Investment Initiative, also known as Davos in the Desert, is underway in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Hello and welcome to this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Guan Xing in Beijing. President Xi Jinping met with California Governor Gavin Newsom on Wednesday to discuss the intertwined economic interests between China and the U.S., emphasizing the importance of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation. President Xi recalled his visit to California and shared China's green development efforts, expressing hope for enhanced cooperation, particularly in green development and climate change mitigation. Governor Newsom agreed with President Xi's principles on developing U.S.-China relations and expressed his willingness to promote California-China interactions and exchanges in the same spirit, particularly in areas of climate change and renewable energy. He said California aspires to be a long-term, stable, and robust partner of China. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed an MOU to boost the low-carbon cooperation with the National Development and Reform Commission on Wednesday. California has long assumed an important role in facilitating cooperation between China and the U.S. on climate issues. The California-China Climate Institute was established in 2019 to increase research into electric vehicles and policy supporting low-carbon technology development. 3 years later, the state of California and the Ministry of Ecology and Environment renewed an MOU to promote continuous cooperation between the two sides. The MOU focused on protecting the environment, reducing carbon emissions and air pollution, and promoting clean energy development. Gavin Newsom has repeatedly called China a strategic partner of California in the fight against climate change and says the world's fate depends on cooperation between the two sides. Our correspondent Addis Tiansa reports from Los Angeles.
California's Governor Gavin Newsom has been at the forefront of the fight against climate change. At the United Nations General Assembly last month, he reiterated his goal to make California carbon neutral by 2045. To achieve net zero carbon emissions, California needs to add 148,000 megawatts of clean energy, nearly 422% more than what it currently uses. And in order to expand its infrastructure capacity for geothermal, wind, and solar energy, it needs a partner like China.
Many of you know this, but California and China have a unique relationship as it relates to the environment. And the technical assistance you have provided under the California Air Resources Board, the work we're doing on cap and trade and other things have been exported globally, and China has been one of our principal partners in terms of that relationship and understanding.
China is really the Mecca or the main manufacturer of the solar cell. And California is going more and more to rely on the solar energy. That's one level of coordination that is taking place between these two countries.
Newsom also aims to promote tourism and cultural exchanges during his stops in Hong Kong, Shanghai, and the province of Jiangsu. On a trip that highlights California's role in maintaining climate ties between China and the United States, the world's two biggest greenhouse gas emitters. It is Tianshan, CGTN, Los Angeles.
Now let's get more insights on climate cooperation between China and the U.S. We're joined by Guan Dabo, Deputy Director of Tsinghua Institute for Carbon Neutrality and Chair Professor of Climate Change Economics at Tsinghua University. Thank you for joining us, Professor Guan. So I understand you will meet visiting Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, tomorrow. Could you tell us more about the purpose of this meeting and what you hope to accomplish?
Good evening. I will attend the Great Wall Climate Dialogue tomorrow, where the governor will be there, and we will establish some dialogues and discussions there. So on behalf of Tsinghua Institute of Carbon Neutrality, basically we do hope to establish some effective cooperation dialogues with California universities to enhance research, science and technology research on low carbon technologies. I think what we also want to achieve from the two countries or two economies perspective that U.S. and China are the joint lead for the global climate governance. And in the past few years, the co-leadership hasn't been playing a very effective role. So we're really trying to see how the two largest economy, also the two largest emitters in the world, could work together and leading the global climate change mitigations and adaptations. And one thing that I do want to mention here is that U.S. and China, they do share the same responsibility, but it has to be the differentiated role and the duties. U.S. is the developed countries, and there's lots of duties leading the developed countries and leading the global economies. But China possibly is leading in the global South countries. They're playing lots of bridging roles between the developing countries themselves. So I think there's a huge amount of the opportunities and the gap to fill between each other and create this kind of strategic partners between U.S. and China for global climate governance.
So with the California governor's visit, what new areas of collaboration do you anticipate around climate change and low carbon development? How might this visit help advance cooperation between China and the U.S.?
First of all, from the academic perspective, we do want to foresee stronger, closer, more accelerating collaboration between Californian universities and Tsinghua or Beijing other universities, and that could break through the key technologies in the field of zero emission, carbon removal, or even negative emission technologies. Those is not only for China, not only for the U.S., it's for the globe, it's for the whole humankind. And when we have those technologies, both countries would rely on those key technologies to remove their emissions or to transit to green economies. On the other hand, many other countries are watching on the two economies to work together to for those technologies, also other kind of collaborations. For example, another things, and the governor in the previous talk was discussing the cross-border economic and financial mechanisms. California does the carbon trade. In China, we also have a carbon market. How those two markets are the largest carbon trade market could link it up together? What will be the financing and the mechanism behind that? So I think between California or with Beijing or some other provinces in China, we could seek some pilot projects between to test this, and this is useful for two countries and useful for globe as well.
So what do you see the opportunities for China and the U.S. to work together moving forward in policy, technology, and research? What benefits could deeper cooperation provide both sides?
The biggest opportunity, especially given California itself, is not the entire U.S. Talking about California itself, they are very much advanced technologies. They are very much forward-looking. So it share the same views as many Chinese cities and the Chinese provinces. So I think the biggest opportunities, we could jointly develop some advanced pilot project to, especially to break through the key barriers in this decarbonization field. So then we can really to implement it at the regional level, spill over to the country level, even global level, thereafter. So, so another key issue is that the mitigation is one thing. The another thing is adaptation. Both two countries has suffered huge amounts of climate extreme events, and then the key technology to help the humankind, to help the two countries to adapt the climate risks are not a lot, and it's not entirely systematical or comprehensive. So the two countries have a huge amount of opportunities to work on this to help the two countries not only mitigate the emission, but also adapt to the climate.
And how important are subnational partnerships between states or cities in advancing climate progress? Do you anticipate more direct cooperation agreements between U.S. states and Chinese provinces?
Yeah, so as I say, California and Beijing are the global leading economies itself already, and leading states and the cities in green transitions. Lots of new things, advanced technologies, advanced ideas, and huge amount of the technology cooperation has happened previously. But unfortunately, the pace has been slowed down over the last few years because of many other geopolitical reasons or many other regions. But we hope this kind of things would continue, would grow nicely in the future. I can foresee some strong cooperation, strong willingness between the two states, not only from the academic perspective, also the business perspective. And they could do a lot of things, serving as an example, as a demonstration project, also as an engine to drive the entire two countries to go for decarbonization processes, transit to the green energy transitions, and also for environmental friendly technology sharing to their countries and to the global levels as well.
Well, thank you so much for your insights, Professor Guan Dabo from Tsinghua University for us. And now we're heading for a short break. Still to come on the program. Chinese Premier Li Qiang is in Bishkek for a pivotal Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting.
Join us in San Francisco on November 14 through 16 for the most influential meeting of the world's leaders and business executives in the Asia Pacific. The APEC CEO Summit 2023 will focus on creating economic opportunity. The summit will promote sustainability, inclusion, resilience, and innovation across the Asia Pacific. Don't miss your chance to be part of the conversation. Request your invitation at apecceosummit2023.com.
Welcome back. Chinese Premier Li Qiang met with Kyrgyz President Sadyr Japarov on Wednesday after his arrival in Bishkek for a meeting of the heads of government of Shanghai Cooperation Organization member states. During the meeting, Li called on the two sides to promote high-quality Belt and Road cooperation and give full play to industrial complementary. Earlier, in a brief meeting upon his arrival, the premier told Kyrgyz Prime Minister Alkalbek Japarov that China is ready to implement the consensus reached by their leaders, deepen political and strategic mutual trust, and set new benchmarks for cooperation. Li's official visit to the Kyrgyz Republic will continue until October the 27th. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization has made remarkable achievements since its establishment. According to a report by the General Administration of Customs, the total trade volume of the SCO member countries has increased by nearly 100 times in 20 years, and its share in the total global trade value has increased from 5.4% in 2001 to 17.5% in 2020. Meanwhile, the trade favorable policies are continuing benefiting SCO countries. The trade volume between the China SCO Local Economic and Trade Cooperation Demonstration Area and the SCO countries increased from 850 million yuan in 2019 to 8.1 billion yuan in 2022. China is Kyrgyzstan's top trading partner, with bilateral trade growing by more than 25% annually, and Kyrgyzstan's Minister of Economy and Commerce said in an interview with CGTN. Take a listen.
Overall, relations between China and Kyrgyzstan are taking a qualitative leap forward, with strengthening bilateral ties and frequent exchange of visits. Our president paid an official visit to China in May this year, opening a new chapter in relations. I believe that bilateral trade figures are strong proof of the deepening of relations. China is now our #1 trading partner, with an annual growth of more than 25% in bilateral trade. In addition, exchanges and cooperation in the fields of education, culture, and healthcare are also developing rapidly. With the handover ceremony of the Chinese government aided mobile hospital project in Kyrgyzstan held not long ago, and two sides are now focusing on increasing the potential for transit transportation, especially the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan Railway. In addition, the China-Kyrgyzstan border port now operates day and night, and new crossing will be built and put into operation soon.
This year, China and Kyrgyzstan elevated their bilateral relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership. The two countries have been increasing cooperation in many areas, including transportation, as some Kyrgyz citizens are enjoying the benefits of taking eco-friendly Chinese buses in Bishkek. And CGTN's Mikhail Badovich reports.
Following an agreement between China and Kyrgyzstan, Bishkek is set to benefit from the introduction of an extensive fleet of buses. These distinctive green and white buses have already commenced operations, enhancing transportation services within the capital city.
At the initiative of our President Sadir Japarov, we signed an agreement in March of this year for the supply of 1,000 buses. To date, 300 buses have already been delivered. Next year, 500 buses will arrive.
A segment of this bus shipment, totaling 128 buses, is part of a project supported by the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, EBRD.
Chinese-made buses from the Golden Dragon Company will also be supplied through the EBRD. 80 buses have arrived, and those 370 buses that I spoke about earlier were manufactured by Zhongtong. The process of their customs clearance and registration is underway, and they will soon be operational.
These natural gas buses offer environmental benefits with automatic transmission, 77 passenger capacity with seating for 29 individuals, and 8 USB charging ports.
These buses are very convenient for us, for the Kyrgyz people, as they are clean, safe and wide. We can say that they are comfortable. It's very good that they brought it.
The buses are very convenient. There's also space for strollers for the disabled. It's very comfortable and the capacity is very good.
As China and Kyrgyzstan plan to boost cooperation in the upcoming year, especially within the scope of the Belt and Road Initiative, are expected to be implemented in different industries. Mikhail Badovich, CGTN.
Well, the annual Future Investment Initiative, also known as Davos in the Desert, is underway in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The annual event is used as an opportunity to pitch Saudi Arabia as a destination for investment. And Jim Stemman joined us live with more details. Hi, Jim. Good to see you. So why does the annual event continue to attract global businesses and investors? What are your major takeaways from the event so far?
Yeah, so this edition of FII is actually the 7th, and we've seen an annual increase in interest over the years. But of course, this edition is happening at a time when a lot of the global economy is not necessarily in the best state. And we've been seeing, for example, Silicon Valley and the global business community increasingly turn to Gulf countries such as Saudi Arabia and the UAE as well, that have significant sovereign wealth funds. So I would say that a lot of the global business community, they're keen on attracting investment from Saudi Arabia, but they're also very interested in opportunities that exist in that particular country. Obviously, the Saudi economy is opening up in some pretty significant ways, and it's a domestic market of 40 million people. Now, one of the challenges we've seen in the past is for Saudi Arabia to attract foreign direct investment, and that's why it's so critical for the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, and Saudi Arabia in general to be able to attract the business community to Riyadh so that they're able to see the opportunities that are on offer. But certainly, if you compare Saudi Arabia to other Gulf nations, it has a significantly larger population, and these 40 million people, they could be consumers of multiple goods and services. So everyone is quite keen on this on exploring opportunities in this market, but crucially also attracting Saudi investment.
Well, thank you very much for all that information, Jim Stellman for us in Dubai. But moving on to some other business headlines from around the globe. Standard & Poor's Global Ratings has changed its outlook on Israel from stable to negative while affirming its AA- rating. The credit agency said Israel's war with Hamas could spread more widely and have a pronounced impact on the economy. The United Auto Workers Union announced a targeted strike at General Motors' Arlington Assembly plant in Texas following the release of the carmaker's third quarter earnings. The targeted strike involved 5,000 workers, bringing the overall number of UAW members striking to 45,000. The International Energy Agency says global fossil fuel demand will peak in 2030, but the world's carbon emissions will remain high, and the global average temperature will rise by about 2.4 degrees Celsius. The IEA also said today's clean energy supply chain is highly concentrated, with China in very strong position. The Australian tourism sector is making a remarkable recovery with the primary focus on expanding its appeal to Chinese tourists. The recently revealed upcoming visit to China by the Australian Prime Minister next month is expected to enhance travel opportunities between the two nations. Our Yin Junyi journeyed to Sydney in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of one of Australia's most renowned tourist destinations to learn more about the strategies being employed to boost visitor numbers.
The Sydney Opera House has now been open for 50 years. As the symbol of Australia, the Opera House is everything from an architectural masterpiece, one of the world's biggest performing art centers, to a premium tourism destination, boasting more than almost 11 million visitors a year. On top of that, the estimated total value added by the Opera House to the state economy in 2022 and 2023 stood at 1.2 billion Australian dollars, according to a report released this month by Deloitte. But there are challenges, including the lingering impacts of COVID-19, with international tourism yet to return to pre-COVID levels. But the Opera House has seen signs of recovery in visitor numbers, especially among Chinese tourists.
Before COVID, in a normal year, tourists from China were our most important market, with over 200,000 Chinese tourists doing an Opera House tour every year. We're slowly seeing that get back to normal. I think we're about 50% at the moment. We work really closely with Tourism Australia and our sales team in China. So we've seen a lot of the FIT business come back really quickly, and we're starting to see the group business is starting to build back up again. So we're hoping that that last big bit will come back next year.
With that in mind, more options have been introduced for visitors.
Do the events across the Lunar New Year every year, so they're often outside and around the building. So we have different performances during that period of every year that brings a lot of Chinese audiences in. And we also do tours all around the building, and we find that there's both local Chinese audiences and Chinese audiences visiting from China really love to do the tours and understand something about the architecture of the building as well as the beautiful art that can happen in the building.
The Opera House is an epitome of Australia's tourism industry. China was Australia's biggest tourist source market before COVID-19. In 2019 alone, 1.4 million Chinese visitors came to Australia, accounting for 15% of all tourists to the country. They also represented 12.4 billion Aussie dollars in expenditure. And in the first 8 months of this year, 320,000 Chinese visitors traveled to Australia after travel restrictions had been lifted.
Australia has welcomed an increasing number of Chinese tourists since the beginning of the year. The numbers are back above half of the pre-pandemic levels. Starting in August, group tours from China were resumed. Officials from Tourism Australia say they are expecting to see further recovery in the months to come, especially when more direct flights between the two countries are available.
Tourism represented 1 in 13 jobs And in some parts of the country, such as far north Queensland, it was as much as 1 in 8 jobs. And it's an incredibly important part of the economy in regional Australia as well. So we know that as we continue to rebuild visitation and help our tourism industry recover, it's going to continue to help the economies all around the country. So we launched our Come and Say Good Day campaign featuring Ruby the Souvenir Kangaroo, our new brand ambassador, in Chengdu in the China market back in June. We are going to continue to run the Come and Say Good Day campaign in China and around the world for many years. We'd like to invite our Chinese friends to come and say good day in Australia.
The momentum is also supported by the improvement relations between China and Australia. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will become the first Australian Prime Minister to visit China in 7 years when he travels to Beijing and Shanghai on November 4th to 7th. The Chinese visit dates were confirmed the same day as the Chinese Ministry of Commerce said that Beijing had reached an agreement with Canberra on a proper resolution of trade disputes over wine and wind towers after similar announcements were made by Australia. Ying Junyi, ICIS for CGTN, Sydney, Australia.
Rental demand in Shanghai's business parks is seeing a gradual recovery. New parks have opened in town for tenants to move into. Chen Tong takes a closer look.
Covering a total area of 130,000 square meters, this industrial park in Shanghai's Changning district opened this month. Half of the space has already been rented out.
The macro environment this year is still challenging, but we are working with tenants to solve the problems in decorations and business development. We held a special event for biomedicine companies. Companies here were actively signing up to participate.
The park is designed for life science companies. One of the new tenants that moved in this month produces food ingredients. The firm decided to move in because of the support offered by the district and the industrial park.
It offered us favorable tax policies and supports us on talent hiring and the residence permits. The industrial park also helped us to build our lab here.
The development of the industrial park has been a hot topic in Shanghai. Just this month, the city has made it clear that supporting the development of industrial parks means supporting the city's high-quality development. At the same time, investments are also coming to support the construction of the parks.
A white paper released by real estate consultant JLL shows business parks for industries including integrated circuits, life sciences, artificial intelligence, new energy vehicles and gaming have seen the most obvious rental demand in the past 2 years. And the city's support for these industrial parks will help speed up the development of high-quality industries.
Internal and external pressure has pushed our country to find its own innovation path. Shanghai's construction of a science and innovation center is crucial for it to build itself into a world-class city. But our economic foundation is not relying on rapid growth of the traditional industry, but breakthroughs in high-tech areas.
Economic uncertainties will indeed bring in challenges to the rental demand for business parks. But JLL's data show that net absorption in the city's business parks turned positive in the third quarter, meaning the city's high-quality development is back on track. Chen Tong, CGTN, Shanghai.
And that's all for this edition of Global Business on CGTN. The Point with Liu Xin is coming up next. Stay tuned.